Law number 19, the law of timing. The law of timing says that when to lead is as important as what to do and where to go. Now, I've been giving you some of the passages out of Proverbs. Some of them I read, some of them I haven't read, but I love this one out of the Message in Proverbs 10:7. Look what it says. Make hay while the sun shines. That's smart. Go fishing during the harvest. That's stupid. Says it all, doesn't it, huh? This is the law of timing. Now, here's what leaders understand. Here's one of the things that is different between a leader and a manager. A manager, let's start there. A manager is very concerned with procedure, where a leader is very concerned with timing. See, a manager doesn't understand if you do the right thing at the wrong time, it won't come out well. But a leader does. A leader understands that it's not only the fact of doing the right thing that's important, but what's also just as important is doing the right thing at the right time. And leaders understand that. An example that I gave you the other day on another law of leadership was the Isaiah Thomas story, where Isaiah said that he was taught by Coach Knight that you read and respond, you read and respond. Now, here leaders, this law of timing, leaders are very comfortable with this law because they realize that there is going to be a right time to do something, but there's also a wrong time, and they're willing to wait. All right, do you remember the old country western song? You got to know when to hold him, you got to know when to fold him. You remember that one? Got to know when to walk away. It's one of the great hymns of the church. I don't know if you've ever... The guy who wrote that song understood timing. He understood that there is a time to sow and a time to reap. There's a time to laugh and a time to cry. There's a time to be born, there's a time to die. And he understood timing to the extent that, see, leaders take advantage of timing, whereas most other people, because they don't understand the law of timing, they are more often hurt than helped by it. Now, by the way, the law of timing is a cousin of the law of intuition. The law of timing and the law of intuition, they're in the same family. So the better you are in the law of intuition, the better you are with the law of timing. Now, the law of intuition really favors natural leadership gifts, whereas the law of timing favors natural leadership gifts too. But if you are intuitive, you'll really take the best use of timing. Now here's how I can always know if a leader is a real leader. A good leader will get more advantage out of timing than disadvantage. Whereas a non-leader sometimes will have the advantage of timing and sometimes will have the advantage or disadvantage of bad timing. Let me see if I can explain this well. I'll try. I'll do my best. Okay. My brother taught me. My brother is very good in business, and he said, John, here's the way this works. He said, people that make money, they make money, but they also lose money. In the process of their financial life, there are months or years when they do real good, and then there are months and years where they don't do so good. And so it kind of dips. He says, people don't understand people who make money. They think that people make money, just kind of everything turns to gold and everything's a four-leaf clover and they go up. He said, that's not the way it is. He said, people that are financially usually successful, they'll have their good days and they'll have their bad days. They'll have times when they make good money, they'll have times when they lose it. Now, he said the difference is all in the area of timing. He said, a good business person, what they will do is when they're making good profits, they'll do everything they can to pour their time, energy, resources into maximizing those profits. In other words, they'll really, once they see the profits are coming, they got that momentum, that financial momentum, they'll stoke the fire and do everything they can to just keep that momentum going. Does that make sense? He said, here's what they do. They put their total effort into maximizing the profits. He said, now, when it turns the other way, and all of a sudden the business isn't doing good and you're starting to lose a little bit, he said, here's the difference between a good businessman and a bad businessman. The good businessman loses money just like the bad businessman does, but he said that here's the difference. He said the good businessman, when they start losing, they cut their losses quick. And he said, that's the difference. He said, if you see somebody that are just trying to hold on, well, we're going to make it. I know that we're in deficit, but next month it's going to get better. He said, poor businessmen, they hold on and hold on and hold on until they go down with the financial Titanic. It's a law of timing. It's the ability to maximize your profits and minimize your losses. Now, that's not only true in the financial world, that's true in the church world. When you've got the big mo going for you. Let's go back to that for a moment, the law of the big mo. When you got the law of the big mo going for you, you do everything you can to stoke the fire and put energy into it. But there are times when the tide turns. By the way, the time you rest is when things are going bad, not when things are going good. And most people do exactly opposite. Most people, when things are going good, they say, oh, well, wow. Oh man, wow, okay, that was, we're right on top. Now let's just sit down. No. That's the time you keep running because you're trying to maximize momentum. You see, this is all in the process of the law of timing. And what I was sharing with you earlier is this. In the law of timing, if you're a good leader, you will maximize the good times and you'll minimize the bad times. Now, if you're not a good leader, whatever timing is, when it happens to happen to you, if it's good, you benefit, and if it's bad, you lose. And so I often say, here's another way to teach this. I often say that, that timing is a double-edged sword. It can bless you and it can curse you. Now, here's the way it works. If you're a good leader, it will bless you more than curse you. If you're not a good leader, it'll probably curse you more than bless you. But it's possible not to be a good leader and to catch the wave and really go to the top, just as it's possible, I suppose, to be a good leader and catch a bad wave and go to the bottom. But this law of timing is something you need to study and understand. In my book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, I give an illustration I think is so classic. I haven't really on this video talked much about the book itself because the book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, is meant to complement these videos, and it's also meant to complement the 21 tapes or the 22 tapes with the 21 laws. Because I want you to have 3 different ways to learn the laws. I want you to read the book so you understand them. I want you to watch the videos so you can teach them to your team. But then I want you to listen to the tapes so you can apply the laws. So all I'm trying to do is stack leadership up for you. I'm trying to position you so you can be successful. And in the 21 Laws book, I talk about Jimmy Carter, who was president of the United States after Gerald Ford. Now, this is a classic example of the law of timing. If you'll remember what happened before Jimmy Carter became president of the United States. Well, we have, first of all, go back to Richard Nixon. And you had Watergate. Okay, he's out of office. Now you got Gerald Ford. Now Gerald Ford comes into office, never elected, but he came into office because he was the vice president. And remember what Gerald did when he got into office? He pardoned Richard Nixon. Now I just want to stop here for a moment to say that Gerald's a good boy, but he doesn't understand the law of timing. If he'd understood the law of timing, well, the first thing, if he'd understand the law of time, the first thing he'd done is he would have waited until after he was elected for another term before he would have pardoned Nixon. You see what I'm saying? The boy, he was a good boy. He just doesn't understand the law of timing. Now get the picture. We've got Richard Nixon and we got Watergate and then we got Gerald Ford and the pardoning. And basically we're saying, we don't want another president that's out of Washington, D.C. We don't want an ex-cabinet member, an ex-vice president. We don't want a congressman or a senator. We got to get somebody with a fresh face. Now watch the law of timing. Here comes Jimmy Carter. Hi, I'm Jimmy Carter, and I'm a peanut farmer from Plains, Georgia. Now we don't know where Plains is, which that's a plus. You see, we don't know where Plains is, but we have a sneaking suspicion it's not near Washington, D.C. And he's a what? He's a peanut farmer. Oh, this is getting better than life. I mean, so he hasn't been to Congress? No, he has not been a senator? No, he's not been on the cabinet? No, he hasn't been any of those things. Oh, wonderful. And we like him because he carries his own coat, and he just seems like a good old boy, down home. And so we elect Jimmy Carter in as President of the United States. He was elected on the law of timing. I almost promise you, in this century, there was not another time that he could have slid into office, but he slid in there. Now, the law of timing will bless you, but it will curse you. So he's the president. Well, you remember what happened when I was president? Well, several things. The main thing was the hostage situation. Remember the hostages? Man, they're over there in Iran, and the hostages, and every night on the newscast, this is day 186 of the hostage. I mean, every day we're reminded those hostages over there, and we're getting panicked, and we can't get them back. And Jimmy Carter, he's a good boy, but he seems to be quite inept, and the interest rates are going up. Remember they got up to 20%? Remember the gas and the fuel prices? I mean, these were not a good 4 years. Probably the height of all of it is I remember very well while he was in office saying, well, folks, we just have to be realistic about America. It will probably never get as good as it was. Well, what he didn't realize is he let the air out of everybody's balloon. Well, you know what happened? 4 years later, Jimmy's gone. And Ronald Reagan comes into office. Have you ever thought of this? Do you remember when the hostages were released? Ronald Reagan is standing up taking the oath of office, and they announce the hostages have just been released. You talk about timing. By the way, I want to stop here for a moment because I'm not picking on Jimmy Carter. I admire him greatly. In fact, I can tell you right now, probably of all the people who have been president in my lifetime, I admire him more than any other person. Now, I don't think he was a good leader at all. I don't think he was a good president. But what a wonderful person. I love his commitment to humanity and his, I really admire him as a person. Which just want to stop here long enough to say, it's possible to admire a person as a person and them not be a good leader. We've got to, in the Christian community, just think just because they're a good person, that doesn't mean you're a good leader, okay? You got that? Okay, good. So here goes Jimmy Carter. He goes in on the law of timing, and he goes out on the law of timing, and I don't think he ever knew exactly what happened to him. And that's what happens with people who aren't really good, solid, strong leaders. They never understand the law of timing, so when it happens to them, they kind of think, oh, wonderful, and they assume that this tide is always going to keep them on top. They assume that they're always going to be able to ride the tide of timing. When I wrote my book, The Winning Attitude, I put in there what I've got in your notes that I want to talk to you about for a second. Because I think this says it better than any other way that I can say it. The wrong action at the wrong time equals disaster. That's just blow up, okay? The wrong action at the right time equals a mistake. The right action at the right time equals resistance. But the right action at the right time equals success. Now, of the 4 lines, I want to talk to you about the last 2 just for a second. There's not much difference between the right action at the wrong time and the right action at the right time. There's a very thin line because you say, well, I know what I got to do. Now I'm going to tell you something. You probably know what you got to do in the good time as well as you know what you got to do in the bad time. So there's not much difference between the 3rd and the 4th line, except when you look at the outcome. You see, if I do the right thing, but I do it at the wrong time, I'll get resistance. A lot of times pastors will say, why are my people not voting for this? And why are my people not going for this vision? Many times, not all the times, but many of the times, it's because we have the right decision, but we have attached it to the wrong time. So let's look at timing, and there are 7 things. There are 7 things that timing requires. Number 1 is maturity. If you're going to have the law of timing working well for you, you need to have some maturity. Here's what I have found. I have found very few young leaders are good with the law of timing. We're aggressive. We want to get it done. We know what the answer is. We raise our hand. I got that answer. I know what to do. And it's not that young is wrong. It's just that young has not had enough experience and wisdom and maturity under the belt to probably do the law of timing real good. But as you have maturity, as you mature and as you grow, if you especially have developed your leadership skills, you'll get better at timing. When I started off in my ministry, every time I wanted to, when I had a good idea, I wanted to do it right now. And I had to learn that there are times when you have a great idea, but you have to sit on it for a period of time. The people maybe aren't ready. See, the question is not, are you ready as a leader? The question is, are your people ready? And by the way, leaders are always ready before followers. That's what defines them as a leader. Does that make sense? In fact, let me put it this way. If your followers are more ready quicker than you, I think we don't understand who the leader is. So it's the nature of a leader to be ready before the follower, but it's the nature of a wise leader to wait till the followers are ready. Maturity. Number 2, confidence. Confidence is a requirement of timing. Here's why. You have to be confident that when you know the answer, if the timing is wrong, that there will be a time when the timing is right. So you have to be able to hold steady. You have to be able to say, I know it's going to turn. It's just a matter of time. I'm just waiting for it. It's okay. There has to be a real, let me put it another way. I have never known insecure people that do the law of timing very well. The very fact that you're insecure will sabotage your timing process. Number 3, understanding. Now, understanding comes a lot with maturity, but I'm talking here about the ability to see the whole picture. There's an understanding based on experience. There's an understanding that's based on the fact that you've been there, that you've done that, and you kind of see the whole picture, and that allows you also to utilize the law of timing correctly. The best way I can explain that is, if you only see part of a picture, you won't be near as good at timing as if you see the whole panorama view. Number 4, decisiveness. Decisiveness. The ability to make a quick decision. The ability to, when the decision is called for, to very quickly in your organization be able to answer it. Many organizations, because of bureaucracy and a lot of stuff, are unable to strike while the iron is hot. Number 5, intuitiveness. I've already shared with you that the law of timing is a cousin to the law of intuitiveness. And here, all I can say is, if you're intuitive, it's going to really help you as far as understanding the tide and when it comes in and when it goes out. Number 6, experience. Experience fits under the same category, I think, of maturity and perhaps understanding, but you've just done so many things so long that you pretty well now know kind of what to expect. So it's not the movement that impresses you as much as the timing that impresses you. And number 7, and I think of all the things that timing requires, this one probably is the most important. Preparation. Timing asks for us to be prepared. And this is where we miss it. So let me talk to you about it for just a second. You see, We kind of look at the law of timing as something that just happens to us, and all of a sudden, oh, here's my window of opportunity. I got to do something. Now, here's what I want you to know. Get prepared. So when the window of opportunity comes, when the tide of timing comes your way, you're ready to move. I know a lot of people, because they look at timing as mystical, they're never prepared. And so all of a sudden the window of opportunity comes and they say, oh, got to go fix this. I got to go do this. I got to get ready. No. Get ready. Hey, get ready in the off season. So when the season comes, you immediately can make that move. Who was it? One of the great leaders said, and I'm sorry because I can't pull his name out right now. But one of the great, I think it was Abraham Lincoln. I think Lincoln said this, but I'm not sure. You know, when you're not sure, you say either Benjamin Franklin, Will Rogers, or Abraham Lincoln. You understand. And in fact, if you just say Benjamin Franklin, people just take that as the gospel. You got what I'm saying? So, but I do think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, I will prepare, and perhaps my day will come. What Abraham Lincoln was basically saying is, if I'm ready, if I'm prepared, he said, when that timing hits me, I'm going to be ready. I'll be ready to strike. I'll be able to do that. Now, a classic example of preparation being the key to timing is, I've given you the illustration of our church in San Diego having to go through a zoning process of which for years we couldn't get the land zoned. So we had to go through major bureaucracy. We had to wait. We went through committee after committee. I mean, I don't even want to explain to you the time, the money, the effort, the energy, all the stuff that was wasted. But here's what I knew. What I knew is I had to keep raising money. Now, the challenge was I was raising money, and I couldn't even promise the people that the money they were giving for the land that we were buying, we could use. So every time I'd raise money, I'd always have to do this number. I'd have to say, now, folks, I want you to give sacrificially for this land, but I also want you to know this land's not zoned. Now, we think it's going to be zoned. We're praying that it's going to be zoned. We're believing it's going to be zoned. But we can't wait till it's going to be zoned. Now, here's the key on timing. Here's what. I couldn't wait all those years until the land was going to be zoned and then said, okay, folks, now we need the money. Because here's what I knew. I needed millions and millions and millions, and and let's count it up. I needed 35 of those millions. If I had to wait until the land was zoned, when it got zoned, I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. So I had to prepare and work in the off season so that when the timing hit and when the land was zoned, and the day the land was zoned, folks, by the way, the day the land was zoned, it was already paid for. The day the land was zoned, we had already paid for all the permits. The day the land was zoned, we'd already put the money in the bank for all the grading. Are you getting the picture? I mean, the day the land was zoned, we could start bulldozing. One of the biggest mistakes pastors make, because I have a company that helps churches raise money for building programs, one of the biggest mistakes churches make is they wait too long to raise their money. They'll come to me and they'll say, we'd like to start our building next spring. You would? That's very nice. How are you going to pay for it? Well, help us. Well, the good news is we can help you. The bad news is we can't raise it this week. Hello, anybody home? You need about a 2-year running start. If you're going to raise money for a building program 2 years from now, here's a thought for you. Start raising money now. It's called getting a running leap, getting a running jump, getting a start. Don't. The law of timing calls for us to be prepared. And the way you prepare in the off season, so when the tide comes in, at that moment, you can seize the moment and you can seize the opportunity. Does that make sense?